Saam met my in die ateljee vanoggend is Kate Stubbs. Nou, sy is die bemarkingsdirekteur by Interwaste en ons praat en fokus 'n bietjie op die rol wat vullisbestuur in landbou speel. Kate, welcome to GROOTplaas.
Good morning. Well, thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure and I love talking about this. Kate, just to start off, how does waste management impact the agricultural industry, you know, in the bigger scheme of things?
Well, waste management in any form poorly done has a direct impact on the environment, which has then an obvious impact on agriculture. Waste management, waste not managed can affect soil health. It certainly affects water quality. And the agricultural sector is very much reliant on climate.
Absolutely.
And what we are seeing is this climate change, floods, droughts, impacting all of us, but specifically then the agricultural sector. And waste management, well, poor waste management with methane gas and carbon emissions is impacting that. So it's the onus is on all of us actually, even though we may not make that direct correlation to agriculture, to manage our waste effectively so as to preserve the environment for everyone.
If we could give a definition to waste management, practically, what is it? What does it look like? What should it look like?
What it should look like is no waste, like nature.
Best case scenario.
Every resource has a role to play and replay, so there's no waste in the system. But I mean, that's a great question because I think waste management in its basis form where as us as sort of consumers can think about waste in our home. I put something in the dustbin and off it goes, and I don't think about it
at all.
So waste is a product that we create in our homes, and that can be physical waste, but we've got to think about there's energy wastage too, but there's water wastage, effluent waste. Waste is any type of material thing in a process that then has no longer any use and needs to be managed. So waste is actually everywhere. And it's everyone's responsibility. It's not the simple physical thing of putting your waste in a bin and hoping something happens with it.
It's very important. If we look at some of the key negative and positive impacts that it has, how would you describe that?
Well, the negative ones we spoke about, pollution in all forms, air pollution, soil pollution, water pollution. It can create organic waste specifically, and that's where we'll talk about in agriculture, where you have a lot of organic waste creates methane gas, which affects the climate. It's also just a waste of resources. You know, we have this mentality of take, make, waste. And you think of all the things in our homes, the tins, glasses, the basics, cardboard, that can all be reused. So instead of extracting more and more resource from the environment, we can see waste as a resource. What can we do with it? And by doing that, you're putting much less burden on the planet. So it's this mentality of good waste management is about designing waste firstly out the system, but then when there is a waste, to say, what can I do with it? And that's the circular economy mindset where we're getting to, is to say, how can I reuse it back into a system? And even with wastewater, how can we reuse it so that we're not wasting, but we're also not polluting?
I'm actually thinking about a recent conversation that I had with somebody, and you hear it actually so many times. People saying, you know, man, my waste creates jobs for other people. No, it's the cycle of life. No. How do you feel about that way of thinking? Asking for a friend.
Yeah, asking for a friend. I think it's an interesting one. It sounds like they're not taking responsibility for their own waste. But there's an important message in that is there are job opportunities. And we're in a country where desperately needs job opportunities. And I mean, we have a large informal waste sector. Most cities have the informal waste pickers who are actually doing an incredibly valuable job because they are making a living out of separating and recycling our waste, typically from our homes. So not only are they recycling and reusing resources and creating a job for themselves, but they're doing the municipalities a favour and they're reducing the amount of waste going to landfill, which is reducing costs for the municipality and preserving landfill airspace. So, but that person or your friend's mindset is a little bit disconnected from actually, I still need to manage my waste myself. I am responsible for it.
Is there a difference between how waste management looks in a more urban setting in compared to, let's say, a farm, is it the same?
No, I don't think it's the same. I think we're fortunate. Most of our really urban areas in South Africa get service delivery. So waste management in a typical urbanized area, be it with business or homes, you usually get your municipal service delivery, which means you put your bags out on a certain set day. Yeah. Someone comes and collects it and it disappears. Well, it goes to a waste management facility. I think in the agricultural, typically farmers are in rural areas, in remote areas, and certainly I think a lot of farmers manage their waste themselves on site, which is important. And you often see better waste management or recycling taking place because they need to. Because you don't have a choice. There are no services, or what do you do with your waste? And I think what's exciting is with the changes in legislation and innovation in technologies, there are opportunities for farmers to, like that circular economy mindset, reuse their waste on site for the benefit of their own farm, be it energy creation or water reuse, or a natural fertilizers or compost for their own farm.
Yeah, which is so important, right? Yeah. You're from Interwaste. Just give me, I mean, what do you guys do? What do you focus on? Obviously, except the obvious. And something that I've actually been wondering about for quite some time in my life. Where does all the waste go? Obviously, landfills. Yeah. But where does it go? Do they burn it? Are we not going to run out of space? How does that whole process work?
Yeah, it's a great question, because before I joined this industry, I really thought I was a good citizen. I did a bit of recycling and, I threw my waste away and that was it. Yeah. And then when you enter the industry, your eyes really get opened up to what happens with waste. Where is it? How is it formed? Oh, my gosh. And we do have a problem. Well, we have a crisis.
Because I think we've got a lot of interested people.
I think that the positive side is we're all becoming a lot more aware. There's greater awareness globally on our human impact on the environment and the need to protect it. And there is more accountability, responsibility being taken in that space. And it's supported by good legislation. So our waste legislation in South Africa is fairly new. Right. But therefore it's forward-thinking. It's quite complex, but it's pushing a lot of onus on large producers of waste to manage it more effectively, to divert from waste from landfill disposal, and to really put pressure on us as businesses and the industry to find solutions for our waste. So that's what we do as Interwaste. As a business, we offer our clients, we'll go and assess a client. They're different wastes from different industries. We'll go and understand it, align it to legislation and design solutions to process and treat and recover that waste as best possible. Or in some instances, it still needs to be safely disposed. Yes. So your point about landfills is, yes, typically in South Africa, most of our waste is going to landfill disposal. Sadly, a lot of our landfills are not compliant to latest standards. So that is a challenge because, in turn, they can create pollution. The newest standards of landfill development are engineered landfills that have very specific liner systems. They have gas extraction systems. They have leachate systems that really you have to be quite technically competent. And it requires intensive environmental assessments beforehand, which is good because it's all about protecting the environment. We don't have enough in the country. The entire country has a shortage of landfill airspace capacity. We need to still develop some because landfills don't go away, even in Europe and the first world countries that are further ahead of us. Waste still goes to landfill disposal because some things just still need to be safely contained. And there are commercial realities of those things. But alternatively, also in South Africa, we are starting to see different types of industries and solutions with modern technology being able to repurpose waste. From liquid waste, agricultural waste, organic waste in our country is a big issue. There's an upcoming ban of organic waste from landfill disposal, I think it's 2028 nationally. And why? Because organic waste can be reprocessed, either as an energy, as a compost. You don't want it sitting in a landfill because it'll create methane gas. So those are good things, exciting space, a lot happening. But the change starts with all of us, and that's the hardest. Our behaviour. We are the problem.
And people think, I'm just one person. It's not, everybody thinks like that. And that's where the problem comes in.
Correct,
landfills, are they... Do we get privately owned?
Yes,
or
we do.
Do we?
Yes.
Is there a difference than state-owned? How does that ratio work?
Well, a lot of our history is a lot of our landfills are municipal-owned or state-owned. But there's certainly quite a few privately owned landfills around the country. So the private sector, like us, we own a landfill. You go and develop it, you manage it. And, I mean, there's robust licensing conditions you have to get from national and provincial governments. Correct. Even water use licenses for your different types of facilities. So that licensing process is very stringent, and then you have to operate according to those licensing conditions. So there are certainly private and municipal landfills operating around the country. Yeah.
It's not just as easy as setting shop up. It's not. You might think it is, like if there's a space, but I'm so glad there's legislation. When we look at the responsibility that we all have, we can talk about this and you can try and get the message across. But at the end of the day, I mean, why is it so important for you as an individual who's also a South African, also living here? Why is it important for people just to start playing their role in waste management?
Well, I mean, we humans really need to connect our living purpose to the earth again, because we're reliant on the very nature that we are polluting in order to survive. So look at our water issues. We had World Water Week and a large focus on water. Nothing can survive on this planet without water.
Nothing, absolutely.
We cannot. We do quite well in South Africa adapting to energy crisis, but we can live for long periods of time without energy, and we can create energy. You cannot create water.
No.
Water is a finite resource. So by not managing our waste and by not looking after our water, we are putting our lives at risk. And it has a direct impact on water usage, on agriculture. We need water to grow our crops, which feed us. We need fresh water and healthy water and clean water to do so that we're not unhealthy, so we don't get sick. So waste management, even though you can think in my little home that I don't have an impact, has a direct impact. And there's also a cost benefit. You know, manage your waste more effectively, use less water. There's a direct cost benefit to everyone as well. So it's just making it more top of mind, taking more accountability. And unfortunately, you know, we often only change when there's a crisis. If your rubbish didn't get collected week on week, you'd be sad because the smell in your environment.
We have seen scenarios like that. Absolutely. No, it starts with us. Kate, I really appreciate your passion, because I hope that the message gets across. You know, it's our responsibility. I'm so glad that I could speak to you. I hope you have a wonderful day.